Hello everyone, Ravi here from Llama Index. So in this video, we'll look into React Agent. So basically we'll experiment with React Agent with simple calculator tools and RAG query engine tools. So we'll use different LLMs starting with OpenAI, Anthropic and Mistral AI LLMs. And then, so what exactly is React Agent? Given a user a message or query and a set of tools, what happens is the React framework will use three-step process, which is thought, action, and observation. So given a message and then user message and set of tools, it will figure out what is the action that it needs to take by using a tool. So it thinks on what is the right tool it should take for the given user message, and then it takes an action by using the tool and then observes the result, and then it iterates this process until you get a final result. So this is what a React agent framework does. So we'll look into how you can use React agent with Llama index abstractions and with simple calculator tools and RAG query engine tools basically. So let's import all the necessary things, and then we'll define these tools, the simple calculator tools. So which is given two integers, multiply them, and then addition of two integers, subtraction of two different integers, and then give the result. And then we'll, since once we define these tools functions, basically we'll create tools out of it, and then once you have tools, all these different tools, multiply tool, add tool, and subtract tool, so you need OpenAI key and Mistral and Anthropic key for this notebook. So yeah, I will use start with GPT-4, and then we'll create a React agent out of these tools, whatever three defined tools we have here. And then now we'll query it with one simple query: what is 20 plus brackets multiplied by 4, calculate step by step. And then you can see that, so it first takes 2 and 4 as the input, observes 8, and then it then sees that 20 added with whatever 8 result is there, and use the add tool, and then takes both these inputs and observes that 28 is the result. And since this there are no other tools that are can be used to give the final result, it says this is the final result for the expression. So you can print out the result, and that's how it takes thought, action, and observation iteratively and gives a final result. Let's try one more example, which is 40 plus 100 minus 30 star 5. So the same way, it first took 130, use subtract tool, and then observe result as 70, and then multiply, which is 70 star 5, which is 350, and then add 40 to it using add tool, and then get a final answer. So that's how you can use simple React agent with OpenAI, and then start querying it. And next we'll go with Anthropic Sonnet model. All you need to do is change the LLM in the same React agent from tools, whatever LLM we are calling, and then let's run similar queries again here. So what is 20 plus 2 multiplied by 4? So here it says the same thing, use the multiply tool first, and then whatever result you add it, take 28 and add it to 28. So, and then yeah, this is the final answer, right? The next example, the same one, which is 40 plus 100 minus 30 star 5, and then let's look for response as well. So it uses subtract tool, which is in brackets, and then multiply tool, and then addition tool, and then gets a final response of 390, right? So let's do similar thing with the latest Mistral LLM as well. So in the similar way, we'll exchange the LLM with the Mistral large latest. So it is also using multiply first and then addition, and then finally provided a result. And then the same example, a previous example, 40 plus 100 minus 30 star 5. Yeah, so it uses subtract tool first, then multiply, then addition, and finally provided a response, right? So yeah, you can even check the whole whatever prompt that we have provided, the React agent prompt as well here. So you can see the whole prompt. I mean, you are designed to help with variety of tasks, from answering questions to providing summaries to other types of analysis. So these are the tools available. You have tool description, and this is the framework that you are going to use, and then iteratively use it, and then what is the current conversation. So this is the high level prompt, and will include tool description, different tool descriptions, and the user's message into it to get the results whatever we have observed above, right? So you can inspect in detail about it. And now that we have used React agent with simple calculator tools, next let's go with RAG query engine tools. So we'll basically build query engines on Uber and Lyft 10K SCC filings. We'll first create the query engines on top of this data. Let's download this data and then load them. This might take a minute or so, since each of these documents are something like 300 pages or so. And then once it is done, we'll create and query engines. So basically take a similarity topic as 3 and create query engines. And once query engines are created, we'll define the tools on top of these query engines. So Lyft query engine and Uber query engine, right? So we have what is a query engine, and then what is a metadata tool, metadata with the name and description, which are very important because based on this name and description, the agent will select one of these tools for the given query. So similarly, Uber 10K SCC filings, and you give the description accordingly and create these query engine tools, right? And next we'll experiment with different LLMs now, starting with GPT-4, React agent. Instead of simple calculator tools, we'll just pass query engine tools here, and let's compare the revenue growth of Uber and Lyft in 2021. So let's see how the response will be. So it first choose Uber 10K SEC filings document and observe that Uber's revenue grew by 57% in 2021. And then choose Lyft 10K SEC filings, and Lyft's revenue increased by 36%. Now that it has both these information, it generated a final response. So yeah, that's what it says. Uber's revenue grew by 57%, while Lyft revenue increased by 36%. So Uber had higher revenue growth compared to Lyft. Let's try with Anthropic as well now, Sonnet LLM. Similarly, we'll create an agent and then compare revenue growth of Uber and Lyft in 2021. So we choose the Uber 10K SEC filings first, and then Lyft 10K SEC filings. Observed the revenue growth in for those two companies and generated a final response. So in this way, you can actually look into creating React agent over simple calculator tools as well as RAG query engine tools, and then perform task on the created agent. You can combine both, even these calculator tools and RAG query engine tools, and start querying as well which will be an interesting task, as well as instead of these simple calculator tools, you can even include the Slack, Gmail, or some other tools that are available in Llama Hub, and keep experimenting. So do check it out. Do check out the notebook, and see you in the next video. Thank you.